I pronounce that there be man and wife.
Amen.
They're here! The puppets are here!
Walt Disney Pictures presents 101 Dalmatians.
Your father, Pongo!
They were totally irresistible,
We must call this one lucky.
unbelievably precious,
Dipstick?
and had a style all their own,
Whizzer.
which is all Cruella de Vil ever wanted.
I live for fur. I worship fur. Put them in a bag. I'll take them with me now.
The puppies are not for sale.
Take it!
Now,
Just wait! Oh, you even! Oh, my goodness!
It's all right, ladies. We're professionals.
the battle is on.
Catch those puppies!
Walt Disney Pictures presents
Oi! Get out of my truck!
Woof, woof.
Glenn Close.
Good evening, madam. Extend leg.
101 Dalmatians.
Hello, hello, I'm Katie, and welcome back to Retromade, your pop culture rewind. Today, we're going to head back to 1996, a great year. I think I started high school in 96, but we are going back to actually revisit 101 Dalmatians, Disney's live action take on the animated classic, complete with Glenn Close going full Cruella. So we'll get into whether this remake earns its spots or does it just ride the original's coattails. I have with me today a returning guest, Lizzy. Thank you for joining me again.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm great. I'm really excited to be back, and I'm really excited to talk about this movie in particular.
I'll let you reacquaint yourself with the Retromade listeners.
Yes. I'm Lizzy. I am mom of 3. I've done several podcasts. My first was Millennial Movie Matchmaker, then moved on to Retro Movie Roundtable, and I dabbled a little bit with a podcast, Are You Afraid of the Dark? It was an Are You Afraid of the Dark rewatch podcast, and I did it with some of my really good girlfriends, and it was so much fun, but life has thrown us too many curveballs that we just can't get together anymore. But there is a full season if anyone wants to check that out. But yeah, I'm out here in Kentucky, and too blessed to be stressed. Praise God.
Ooh, I love that. Too blessed to be stressed. Nice. Listeners, before we get into the show, I just wanted to let you know that this season of John Hughes is almost over. After this, there's only one more episode, and I bet that you cannot guess what movie it is. It's been wild kind of going through the John Hughes movies, like some surprises. You're like, oh, John Hughes wrote that, eh? So get your comments and your thoughts in along with any number of ways that you can support the show. That'd be great. Now, we're going to have a little bit of a different spin with the Retromade Trivia Wheel today. I'm going to share the categories on the wheel with Lizzy, and she's going to pick one. And it'll be a guest choice, which is a first.
Ooh, okay. I think I know what I'm going to pick. Okay. This movie was so fantastic, but to me, what really makes it all on its own is Glenn Close, and we can't talk about Cruella de Vil without talking about the clothes. So I think it definitely has to be the runway.
Love it. Retro runway. Question 1.
Okay.
It is a denim trend. This is 1996. I can remember it well, vividly. I definitely partake. What is the past tense of partake? I don't know.
I don't know. I partook. Yes.
I participated in this
Yes.
trend. Okay, so it's a denim trend, often paired with baby tees and visible midriffs, becoming a defining look. What were the kind of jeans?
Like a low-rise jean.
Ultra low-rise jeans. Yeah.
Yes. I hope those never come back, by the way.
Boy, well, my 40-something self is not going to be partaking in that if it does. Yeah. And yes, definitely.
Same.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
if
don't
it
think
does
it was.
make a comeback, that'll be a trend that I do not hop on.
It looks good on not very many people. You have to be 16 for it to look good on you, I feel like, you know?
Yes, absolutely.
Very good. Okay. This one is interesting. It's a shoe, oversized athletic sneaker style. And it was popularized by brands like Fila and Nike, became a staple in 96. And it was referred to as ugly long before irony made them cool.
Honestly, the first shoe that pops in my mind is like a Dunk. I don't know how old that is, but like a Nike Dunk, or
I don't think I know what that is.
I think they're actually very cool. I own several of them, but they are like really big and bulky. It's like the clog of sneakers almost.
Maybe that's what it is.
Yes.
Maybe that's what it is, because the answer is chunky dad sneakers, aka platform sneakers.
Like a New Balance.
Yeah.
Yes.
But like platform, like instead of platform heels, like platform
sneakers. Yes, that's really funny.
Is that what a Dunk is?
So a Dunk, like I feel like it's not a shoe that you would wear to work out in. It's like truly just like a fashion sneaker, but it's not platformed, but it's more like wide. So it kind of gives you that
yep.
Almost like a Mickey Mouse shoe. That's the only character I can think of to visualize it, where it's just abnormally big. And I have a couple, honestly, but like they only go with certain things. Like you can't really wear them with jeans. I think like a short skirt or something.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know how specific you have to be, but what outerwear trend heavily associated with hip hop culture in 96 was frequently worn featuring bold logos, often seen in music videos and NBA tunnel walks?
So like the swishy, I don't know what it was called, but it was like when you walked, it made like a shoo, 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 because it's like the fabric.
That material,
I don't really know what to call it, but but like that, you saw it like sometimes it was in really bright color blocks, and then other times it was done in like only one or two colors. I had several of them as a kid though, but it was like a matching set, and whenever you could hear me coming because of the swish.
So like oversized jackets, or like bomber style jackets, but oversized.
Yes.
Very oversized. This is a headwear trend, became street fashion essential thanks to hip hop artists and athletes, often worn tilted, flat brimmed, and heavily branded.
Tilted, flat brimmed, and heavily branded. Oh my gosh, the second that you were talking about accessories with the 90s, my mind was going to cut you off and be like butterfly clips. But
for girls, oh my God, I can't. Yes. Late 90s, even into the early 2000s. That's such a terrible look.
We had our elementary school for my son had a 90s themed family dance. And so like we all got to go and get dressed up, and they had a huge contest, and I got to put butterfly clips in our daughter. And it was so, and she has like curly platinum blonde hair. So she's like the perfect head of hair for it. It was amazing. Gosh, I don't know. So the flat brim, definitely like a ball cap, maybe like a trucker hat, something like that.
Yes, you're absolutely right. The answer is fitted baseball caps.
Fitted
and
baseball, okay.
Often new era caps.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not if I'm familiar with the New Era brand.
I don't think so either. But definitely, I very specifically remember either the flat brim or tilted. Like
yes, I remember that look. Yes.
All right. Last one. Minimalist yet provocative fashion style. Often pretty plain, but very tight fitting and paired with baggy bottoms. Signature look, late 90s. A lot of pop and R&B artists, but also I wore them too. Like it was
baggy jeans, like baggy jeans. I mean, my mind first goes to either a crop top or I remember a lot of hip hop artists honestly wore like bikini tops with really baggy jeans, where they would just wear, basically look like they could just go to the beach, but they have jeans on.
Mm-hmm. You're right. It is either baby tees or crop tops.
Yay. Okay. Those have made a big comeback too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. You did very good. Fashion, good pick, Lizzy. Good pick. So 96. Yeah. I wore a lot of these things.
Well, it's
But
amazing.
I think maybe we should get into the movie.
Yes, let's do it.
"101 Dalmatians." Did you know that this 96 remake was a John Hughes written movie before I showed you the list?
No, I never would have known that. Rewatching it with the context, I so see it. But it's painfully obvious, especially in Horace and like the two henchmen. Like you can so see how Home Alone coded it is, and John Hughes is just such a he's just has this whimsical magic that he brings to relationships and movies. So you can definitely see it. But no, I never would have actually guessed that had you not told me first.
Same. Definitely surprised. I assume this was not your first watch.
Wasn't. No, this movie had a chokehold on me when I was a kid. I loved the cartoon, but I loved this even more. I mean, this was a family favorite for me.
Did you watch it with your kids recently?
We did. Yeah, we watched it yesterday. Oh my gosh, they were all three. We're like, can we get a dog? They're so
Of course.
cute. I mean, they've lost their minds. And it's just all the little scenes, especially when there's so many puppies. It was like really, really fun for them to watch. And honestly, I think they had more fun in the beginning watching Cruella be Cruella and then watching like the meet cute between Roger and Anita. And they just, I don't know, they really liked it. So I was excited.
Good. I'm glad they liked it because a lot of times things from the 90s don't work for kids now. So I'm very glad to hear that they liked it.
They did. Now, I will be totally honest. They dragged their feet when I told them that I wanted to watch it. They were like, no, they're really into Pokemon right now. So we want to watch this other Pokemon thing. And I was like, listen, every now and again, your mom can bust out a movie that isn't that bad. And I would say they were pretty hooked early in, and just watching Pongo, like how he was so smart and he could like get the shower and the coffee ready. And they had a lot of fun watching that. And then they were immediately hooked once Pongo started chasing Purdy. So it actually really, I think, to your point, there's a innocence, I think, to the dynamics in the movie that you don't see a lot now. There's more of like this hustle culture that's ingrained in these live action movies. And whereas in this movie, it kind of represents a smaller, quiet confidence. And so I was really pleasantly pleased that they liked it.
Good. Yeah, I kept thinking the same. You had used Home Alone coded. It's like Hughes' signature at this point. I feel like this is the 10th movie that we've covered on the show where that dynamic is at play. Also, he must really like writing for a duo of bumbling criminals because he does that a lot.
He does.
Did you grow up watching the cartoon, the original from the 60s?
Yes, I loved the cartoon from the 60s. That was another big one of mine. Any Disney movie that had animals in it, that was the one that I wanted to watch. So 101 Dalmatians, Lion King, Aristocats, like all of those movies are my favorites. I loved the scene, and honestly still do, in the beginning of the 60s one where all the people are matching their dogs. And I love that so much. And I was so excited to see them try to emulate that in the live action. And then it's just such a sweet movie. I love it still to this day. And the kids have seen that one too, and they really enjoy that one as well.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I literally wrote down in my notes when that scene was happening. I was like, oh, thank God. I have seen this movie. I think I actually went to it with my grandma and she got a kick out of it like in 96. So that was really sweet. And I also grew up absolutely adoring the original. I remember being at Pamida which is like, I don't think they exist anymore, but sort of like a mini type Walmart store, like regional
Oh, nice.
in the Midwest. I remember being there just on a quick errand run or something with my dad, and I begged him. I saw on an end cap the puffy case Disney, it must
Ah,
have just
yes.
done, they must have just done a re-release at that time, whatever in the 80s this was. And this was not something that was typical in our household. You didn't just like, I want that, and it was purchased for you. That never happened.
Yeah.
And I think I just wore him down, and he was like, fine, we'll get it.
Fine, we're getting the movie.
Yeah. So I got my way. Yeah, those are a couple memories with this. And I'm a big dog person as well. And sometimes I'm nervous about watching movies with animals in it, but this one's a safe one. So
Yes. Yeah. It's so good. And I love in the cartoon where there's like this dog community, like Pongo can go up and bark, and then all of the dogs hear them and sing that trickle down. And again, I love how they were able to use like the really important components. They didn't reinvent the wheel. They were like, this is a great story. We don't need to recapture this. We're going to take all the amazing things about the cartoon and honor it through this movie, but then we're going to put kind of our own unique stamp on it. And I love that whole aspect of it too, when Pongo goes up and barks, and then it goes to the border collie and shows all these different dogs. And
the
I don't know,
Twilight bark. Like,
yeah, it's just so
it's like their
darling.
system of communication.
Yes,
It
I
is.
love it so much.
They did stick pretty closely to the original, which was good. Like you said, the things that they did different worked, in my opinion. Scene that you were talking about where he's in the park watching all the dogs and their owners go by, and the people look like the dogs. That was a scene I feel like could have gone on for about half of the time that they did the bike chaos.
Yeah.
I think that lasted far too long. So they could have taken some of that time and given us some more people lookalikes with their dogs. But
I tend to agree. I think they only did 2 people. I think they could have done maybe 3. Actually, I think they did 3.
there's
They did
3.
like a smaller dog, I believe, and then the bulldog, and then the Great Dane, I believe, was the big one, because Pongo's bark got more intense. Like he had something to prove.
The live action remake of the original was released on November 27th, 1996. So people probably going with their families over Thanksgiving break.
Yeah.
It is rated G, and I point this out because it's the only G movie that we've done on Retromade this season.
Wow.
We did cover The Fox and the Hound last season because Kurt Russell voiced Copper. So that was G, but I think this was actually the first G-rated live action movie that Disney made. The IMDb rating is a little lower than, having rewatched, I'm like, oh, that's a little bit on the low side. It's 5.8. I don't know if you have thoughts about that.
That does. I would actually argue, my hot take is that I think this is the best Disney live action remake. I mean, I don't know really what prompted this, because there was probably about a 10 to 15 year delta between this live action remake and then what we've seen in the last decade of just them churning out live action remake one after another. And I think this is the best one. And I think mainly because of what we talked about earlier. Ultimately, the common denominator, I think, between a lot of these live action remakes is they try to change so much of it. And while I do appreciate that there's a certain aspect of them that maybe want to modernize the story a little bit, sometimes I think when you're a little too hyper fixated on what people are going to think and feel and how it'll be received, I think sometimes that takes you out of the magical part of what makes the story so special. And sometimes you just miss the mark. And I think that's the case for a lot of these. But I think with this particular movie, I really think John Hughes understood that this was going to be more of a love letter to the 60s one, rather than him trying to just do something on his own.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. I hated Flubber. So that was also a remake. And I had not seen the original, but I don't know what he was doing. So he did not do what he did with 101 Dalmatians for Flubber.
I didn't like Flubber either. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
And I
was like,
love Robin Williams, but I was not a fan.
Yeah. I was like, this is terrible. But the original has a 7.3 IMDb rating. And honestly, I'm surprised that's not higher.
Right. Yeah.
Who doesn't love that?
I know. It's the best.
Strange. So obviously we have John Hughes writing the screenplay, and it is based on Dodie Smith's original. Actually, I don't know if that's a man or a woman. Do you?
No, but Dodie feels like a female name. I think I think it's she. We'll go
Dodie
with
Smith
she.
wrote the book on which the original movie was based. We'll get to the amount of money that this made, but John Hughes made more money from this movie than any other movie in his career. Do you know why?
Yes, I do. I know why. I just read this because he got royalties. That's what it was. He got like merchandise and
It was
all
the
these things.
merchandising.
Yes.
A piece of the merchandising profits, which was everywhere. I had Rolly until one of my dogs used it as a toy. But yeah, the stuffed animal. I
Loved Rolly.
I read that there were 17,000 items of merchandising. I can't even like things that were 101 Dalmatians branded.
Can't even like compute.
I know.
I can think of 10 in my mind, and then I
could come up with 100 probably if I tried real hard. But yeah, so he was very glad that he did this movie, and so was Disney, because the budget for this was $67 million, and it was a massive hit. Worldwide gross of $321 million on a $67 million budget.
Yeah,
that's
really
wild.
good.
So obviously there's a sequel, which I don't think I've seen, 102 Dalmatians, and that was in 2000. Did you see that?
Yes, but I don't remember a lot of it. I feel like I watched it kind of like almost like with one eye open. I remember bits and pieces of it. I know that like Cruella is like, she escapes prison and wants to like exact revenge. So in a lot of ways it's a recycling of the first.
Okay.
But there's I remember the hook. I was just thinking like there's like an element, there's a Dalmatian that doesn't have any spots. That's the big thing. There's like it's like the black sheep of the family. It's a spotless Dalmatian. And that's all I really can remember. But I do remember there was a TV show of 101 Dalmatians that came out shortly after this. And I really liked that show. I watched that.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Actually, the plot that you just said about 102 Dalmatians actually sounds pretty good. But I think that there were some pieces to this puzzle that really made it work. And I think a big piece of that was the cast. They had a really good cast. But before we get into the cast, I want to talk about the director, Stephen Herek, a little bit. Are you familiar with Stephen Herek?
By name, I'm not, no.
I would, same. Yeah, I don't think we've covered him on Retromade yet, but he also directed Mr. Holland's Opus, Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, one of my faves.
Yes.
But, yeah, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, The Mighty Ducks, and Critters.
Wow. Okay, so
Yeah.
he definitely has a brand. You can definitely feel.
Yeah.
And him and John Hughes are very symbiotic in that way. Like you can really tell that they make good partners. They have a vision that's very similar.
Yeah, it's just one of those that he doesn't have the name recognition, but has done some great work.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We have the one, the only Glenn Close as Cruella de Vil, and oh my God, was she great!
She's fantastic. She was. Now I saw my parents. I remember being really, really excited about her being Cruella de Vil because when this came out, I had no idea who Glenn Close was. Like her body of work was all like really more adult films. So I had not watched anything that she was in, but my parents were elated to see her. After growing up and watching more of her body of work, specifically Fatal Attraction, I feel like she brought that bunny boiling energy, which is kind of sadly ironic because she's, she's cruel to animals, but it was unbelievable. Like she was fantastic. She is equal parts chic, terrifying, and just erratic and all over the place in the best way possible. She is, I don't think anybody else could have done it. I remember reading a couple of other people that were offered the job, one being Sigourney Weaver, and no shade to Sigourney Weaver. I think she's fantastic, but the chic element and just that fabulousness,
Mhm.
I don't know if I can visualize that. And that's no shade to her. She's Sigourney Weaver is very sexy, but there's a certain X factor that Glennclose has that just made it perfection.
Agreed. So I can see why they would consider Sigourney Weaver. Like she's the right type, and she kind of played this in what's that movie where she's the boss of Melanie Griffith and Harrison Ford? I'm gonna have to look it up because it's driving me nuts.
I could see her being a Cruella with a more soft-spoken Cruella, because I think that there's a quiet mania about Sigourney Weaver, but I don't know if I've ever seen her fully lose it. Maybe I just haven't seen it in the right movie, but she has this very controlled anger that is actually on its own very scary. She has this ability to be frightening in a way that she is so in control of everything that she's saying and doing, and can speak so quietly and thoughtfully while also cutting you. So in that way, that would make for a good Cruella. But I think the thing that I think makes Cruella is the fact that she's not controlled. She's just like all over the place and just dramatic, a maximalist in every way. And I think that was really, really necessary for the role. So I can appreciate the Sigourney part, but I just think it had to be Glenn.
Agreed. And the movie I was thinking of is Working Girl. Great movie.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, my brain. They did want Glenn Close to be in this, but she initially rejected it because of, I think there was a Broadway play or something that she was doing. And anyway, scheduling conflicts, but then she ended up being able to do it. The other person that I read did a screen test for the role was Kathy Moriarty. And this being a G movie, it was later deemed that she was too frightening.
Really?
For a children's movie. Like, she must have brought some realism in her screen test.
Yeah, she must have really brought some scary elements. It's really funny.
I don't know why it gets me. I've always wanted one of those rich, bitchy lady in movies have those long cigarette holders.
Yes.
And I want one. I don't smoke, but I was like, that's awesome.
I remember
Goldie Hawn in Overboard too.
Is amazing. She, because I remember that from the 60s movie. She had that long piece. I love the car, that cigarette holder. I remember, I don't smoke either, but it kind of just goes without saying that she made smoking seem really cool. Really chic. I know that's the wrong thing to say, but.
Oh my gosh. I actually read a piece of trivia about that. So this was one of the last Disney films to feature visible on-screen cigarette smoking.
It's really funny. I understand why. That they were like, we're making this seem too cool. We need to make sure that we're properly communicating that this is not good.
It does. I gotta say, when there's certain movies, a lot of mob movies, or watch certain TV shows, there's a lot of smoking, like Peaky Blinders. It makes me want to smoke.
Yeah,
for some reason. So yeah.
There's a joie de vivre when it comes to smoking, that I do think that there's I guess it gives you an edge. I think, there's something about seeing someone do it, I guess, in the right context, in the right moment, that it just, it does give this very cool allure to them. But then, when you're in reality, if you're in a room with a bunch of people smoking, you're just like, this smells not into it. And I feel like I need to take a shower.
Yeah.
So
it's not as classy. Cool. Mad Men, it's everybody must have just reeked, apparently. Yeah.
I think that they all had to. And it was also, especially the Mad Men times, it was the thing. My mom, both my parents talked about during, because my dad was born in 52. So when he was in his prime, it was everybody smoked. That was just what you did. Nobody ever even took a second thought that this could be bad for you. Everybody was just like, it's great. And we did it. So,
it's cool. It's the cool thing to do, for sure.
That's right.
Okay. So Coming back to Cruella and Glenn, because I want to talk more about her. Every time she was on screen, I was mesmerized. Every little movement, and like her gloves had claws. She had this way of saying things or doing things that are like it's a put down or it's snarky, but in a really smart way. I literally laughed out loud a few times. One is towards the end when she's literally been through a molasses vat and now she's in the manure mud and the police are there and they're like, "Are you Cruella de Vil?" And she's like, "Is there something wrong?" Like is there something wrong? And then to Roger, when she's meeting him, he, reaches out to shake her hand when she's leaving, says something like, it was a pleasure to meet you. And she's like, "What was?" And he's like, "To make your acquaintance. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance." And she says, "That's a sweet thought. I wish I could reciprocate." And I want to use that now. I want to use that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She says to, I can't remember both of their names. I know one of them's Horace, but
Horace and Jasper.
Jasper. Yes. So Hugh Laurie's character, when he's like, "We've got the puppies, we're at the house and everything." She says something like, my ability to second guess your inaptitude is temporarily restored. And he's like, "Oh, you're too kind, man."
So if it wasn't her in this, I don't think it would have been as good. They had a really good supporting cast as well that we'll get to, but it made me wonder about Glenn because I was like, does she maybe have the most Oscar noms or wins or whatnot? She has not yet won an Oscar. She was nominated 8 times. And if she gets an Oscar, she will be in the EGOT status because she's gotten all the others.
Oh, wow.
What is it? Grammy, Oscar, Tony,
and Emmy. That's
Emmy. Yeah.
Emmy.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, she's fantastic.
But she is not the actress with the most accolades or prestigious awards, wins, nominations, etc. She is surpassed by one. I bet you can guess who it is.
Probably Meryl Streep. She's the person that I really think of when it comes to being nominated the most. And I feel like she's nominated every other year for something.
But Glenn is the next, apparently. Yeah.
Well, hopefully she gets her Oscar soon. She should.
I know. Love Glenn. There's a few things that I read in the trivia that if we have time, we'll get to that I'm like, oh, makes me love her even more. One of which I think is that she insisted on wearing fake fur.
Yes, so I love that. Yes, especially with like all just the subject matter. I feel like that just makes it feel a little bit more wholesome and full circle.
Everybody loves Jeff Daniels, I feel, and he's had a very diverse career. He has won Emmys for The Newsroom and Godless. Godless, I think, was a limited series or a mini series or something.
Never heard of that one.
I think I did see that, or I'm getting that. Maybe I'm conflating a couple with similar titles, but I'm pretty sure I saw that. I've not seen Newsroom. Do you watch that show?
I did see Newsroom. I watched the first season. I think that there were more, but I only watched the first one. It is pretty good. It reminded me of Network. That's an old movie from the 70s.
Yes. And that won an Oscar, I think, didn't it?
Yes. A lot like that. I felt like a show version of that where it's just showing kind of how the sausage gets made and in a way that you, the viewer, are kind of questioning because you're watching his own dilemma on what he needs to report on because it's a business, so he has to make sure people watch. And it's just, I don't know, it's kind of interesting to see how much tinkering goes into what they decide to report on. And it was very interesting.
I think the rest of the cast is a little understated. They're all really good. It's Jeff Daniels, but as Roger, he's not doing anything significant or special or stand out in any way. He's just doing the job. He's playing Roger because that's who Roger is, right?
Yes.
And similar with Anita, just very that quiet. They're British, so
Yes.
they're not as brash and loud as Americans. But Joely Richardson, are you familiar with her playing Anita?
I always sometimes get her and Natasha Richardson confused because they have a very similar haircut and they have this very, very similar build, like very petite and fair skinned, just very, and very classy.
Yes.
And I think sometimes I get her a little bit confused, but her own body of work, I don't think so.
I feel like I know that name more so than actually her. And she comes from an acting family, and you get her confused with Natasha because they're sisters.
No way. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I love that. Well, that's hilarious. That makes a lot of sense now.
And the classy, this will also track because their parents are Tony Richardson and Vanessa Redgrave.
Okay. Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
And
That's really,
their
really cool.
grandpa is Sir Michael Redgrave. So they're, they have this air about them, I suppose.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm. She was nominated for, now I don't watch the show. I'm curious. It sounds like maybe you haven't either because you would have maybe brought her up, but she was nominated for a Golden Globe, maybe on more than 1 year, for her performance in the TV show Nip Tuck.
No, I know I'm very familiar with Nip Tuck, but I did not watch it. I think
I
that
didn't
was
either.
for whatever reason that missed me. I was in college when Nip Tuck was a thing, and I honestly couldn't give you a solid reason as to why I didn't watch it. It just never really happened. I kind of missed it.
Yeah, same. She was in a few episodes of The Tudors, which I did watch and love. She played, I can't remember who she played, but that tracks, British and everything.
Yes,
and also The Patriot, the movie The Patriot.
Oh, nice. So I feel like I've probably seen her sprinkled in things. Yes.
She never stands out. Again, it's kind of that meek, mild-mannered nature, I feel, that she has. The woman who plays the nanny is Joan Plowright. And we talked about her on this season in the Dennis the Menace episode because she played Mrs. Wilson, basically playing the same sweet, older, lovely woman. But before doing that episode, I did not realize that she is an extremely accomplished actress.
Oh, really? That's so cool.
She was just before our time,
Yep. She reminds me so much of Angela Lansbury. She gives like very similar energy of just this kind of classy chic older woman, but it can also be, that there's two different versions, of course, of Angela Lansbury. There's the teapot, and then there's the really like wicked mom from Manchurian Candidate. She can do both very well. And she kind of gives me that same energy that like, even though she's sweet, she could probably turn it on and give you a completely different performance.
Yeah. She's a delight. I like her presence. And then our Marv and Harry here. It's Horace and Jasper.
Yes.
And you had mentioned already. So Jasper is Hugh Laurie. And he's most known, I would say, for the TV series House.
Yes.
I'm sure he's in a ton of other things. That's what I know him from. I've not seen that show either.
So my husband loves that show. So I've seen a couple of episodes here and there. But when we got together and got married, House was fading out. So it wasn't like a show that we needed to regularly tune into. So I'd catch him watching it every now and again. It's funny because he's an American in that show. So he has a totally different accent. And
that's right.
He's really snarky and very like sharp-witted. It's a huge departure from this because in this one, they're both funny, but he's more funny, sarcastic in House, whereas as Jasper, it's almost more like physical comedy and and just goofiness. But he does a great job. And I think his voice is Jasper. I think that's like just his natural voice, I believe. When watching him in interviews, it sounds very similar.
I mean, that tracks. Yeah. These are the henchmen, Cruella's incompetent henchmen. Horace is played by Mark Williams, and I did look him up. He's in a few of the Harry Potter movies. I am unfamiliar with him, but he does seem to have a very solid acting resume. And the UK listeners, I don't know, maybe they're screaming right now, and they're like, he's in such and such, and how do you not know that?
He's Ron Weasley's dad in all of the Harry Potters. So he's probably in, I think there's 8 or 9 Harry Potter movies. I might get that wrong.
Are
but
there really?
There's
Okay.
a lot of the Harry Potter movies. The first one came out when I was in the 8th grade. And then the very last one, I had kids. It's just like,
Wow.
there's so many, but he plays one of the main characters' dads. And so, and he's like just a goofy, silly wizard, but he has such a solid heart. And Harry, to just give you a small context of like Harry's past, is he's an orphan and he lives with his aunt and uncle, and his aunt and uncle are like really wretched, kind of awful people. So Ron, his friend, take him in. And so this Mark Williams' character is almost like a surrogate father to him. And he's a really good guy.
Oh, that is really helpful context. So what were your thoughts in seeing him play this very different type of character as Horace?
Honestly, I love it. I think it suits him so well because even though he's a bad guy and he has ill intent, there's still so many elements that are the exact same because he's goofy, he's a little over the top, he's not quite as smart. Like he definitely plays someone who's just dim-witted, just not a very smart guy. But I think still that of the two, if you were to ask, there's always the more innocent henchman who's just kind of following orders, whereas the one who's kind of a little bit more on the cruel side. And every now and again you get a tinge of innocence from Horace where you're like, oh man, he kind of just seems like a good guy who just got caught up in a lot of really bad circumstances. But it's like, I don't really think he wants to do this. I think if you really sat down and you were like, you and I both know that you don't want to be here, right? And I think he'd eventually just be like, you're right, I don't. And I just want to hug and I want to go home.
Yeah, he does seem a bit dim-witted too, and that's played for laughs. But yeah, the innocence, I agree. He's definitely the more innocent one. When they're all in the, what do they call him? Like a paddy wagon? Is that what they call? Like
it's one of my favorite parts. Yes.
All 4 of them, because the Skinner guy, his name is actually Skinner, or his nickname, whatever. He's the one who is going to skin the puppies. And he also, at the very beginning, they kill a rare endangered tiger from the zoo.
I know. It's horrible.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, he's the 4th person. So they're all in the paddy wagon and she's like, you guys get the gold, silver, and bronze for, I can't remember what she says, like epic stupidity or something.
Yeah.
It takes a minute and you can see Horace is trying to kind of hold it back and then he's like, who gets the gold?
Yeah, who won the gold? It's so funny because you know that there's always someone in that group that's like, wait, who is it me? Did I win the gold?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And the music is done by Michael Kamen. That probably sounds familiar to you or no?
You might not by name, but I bet if you list off some of his accolades that they'd ring a bell.
Yeah. So his career is very diverse as well. He started out, like before he did film scores, he worked with seemingly every band known to man, like Pink Floyd, Aerosmith, Tom Petty, Queen, Metallica, Guns N' Roses, on and on and on and on. And then he got into doing film scores. And we talked about Michael Kamen for scoring Roadhouse last season.
Nice.
The Patrick Swayze movie. Other big hitters would be, again, Mr. Holland's Opus.
Oh my
so
gosh.
I'm wondering if the director, Stephen Herrick, because he directed, if that's the reason he brought him over, was because they worked together on that. But also Die Hard, Lethal Weapon, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, Highlander.
Okay.
Yeah. And the X-Files.
He did X-Files?
The theme music for X-Files. Yeah.
That's so iconic. That's amazing.
Yeah. So nothing to sneeze at. And he thusly won a number of very prestigious awards. So that's
good for him.
That's who did the music for this. I did notice it's also understated, but there were a few times that I was like, oh, that was really smart. And I can't think of the examples, but I did think that the music was very helpful on this. It wasn't just a throwaway. It was intentional, and I could feel that.
I love when a good score should guide your emotions as you're watching the movie. And this one definitely did that. And I think especially in the good moments, because it had this da 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 da, and like this kind of, which almost kind of mimics like the pitter patter of dog
paws.
or puppy
Mhm.
walking. And I don't know, it really worked very well. And anytime that came in, and it would repeat itself anytime that there was a triumphant moment throughout the movie. So yes, I think you notice the score enough to recognize the recall when you hear it repeated and appreciate those moments, but it doesn't stand out enough to
Mhm.
then take your mind outside of the story. It's like that perfect dance, which I imagine is actually like super, super challenging. So he did a
I
great
bet.
job.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited to talk about a movie that's well done with a lot of really accoladed actors and directors and composers, because we've been in a stretch of really bad.
Yeah.
The last several John Hughes movies, a lot of his kid movies aren't.
Mm.
I feel like he didn't really put in the effort, but here I feel like this is definitely a win. So where I was going with that, it's been a long time since I've gotten to talk about awards, a movie receiving any awards, and Glenn Close was nominated for a Golden Globe for this movie. And that seems like that kind of a thing doesn't happen.
It's very rare.
Yeah.
It's very, very rare for a children's movie to be nominated. You know that it's just that good that they couldn't ignore. I think the only other time that it's been done for a live action Disney movie was Johnny Depp was nominated a couple of times as Captain Jack Sparrow.
Oh, okay.
But he didn't win, but he was nominated. But that was also a really big deal because that
Mhm.
movie ultimately was designed to be a family movie, and that typically doesn't speak to the Oscar
Right.
kind of zeitgeist that they're looking for. They're always kind of looking for that like obscure, trendy,
Yep.
avant-garde. But it just Glenn's work honestly speaks for itself. Like she was perfect. She did like this movie would not be the movie that it is today without Glenn Close. Like just hard stop.
100%. And also, the hair and makeup received a BAFTA nom. Again, they didn't win, but a BAFTA nom. This is set in London, a lot of British actors and stuff. So that's very fitting.
It's just fantastic. Of course. Yeah. I mean, the black and white hair, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, you just everything, they brought in all the elements that you expect and just did it so well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. One of the other things that I took note of was the animal actors. There were in addition to the dogs,
Yes.
the Dalmatians and other dogs, there were so many animals. They're doing a really good job.
Yeah, they do so well. I honestly, rewatching it this time, the one animal that I think captivated me the most was Purdy. I think that dog did a great job. She did a really, really good job. You know, I mean, when you watch the movie as an adult, you understand that the dog it has a trainer and that this is all kind of being done. There's someone's behind the scene making them bark or wince or do any of the things when they're supposed to do it. But the trainer, the dog, the editing, every piece of the puzzle that needed to come together to make it work made Purdy really seem like this like concerned mother and made her seem like she was really falling in love with Pongo. And even watching it as an adult, knowing full well what's going on behind the scenes, like you still get sucked into this sweet little story. And like even her bark is like so cute and dainty. And I loved her. I thought she was fantastic. And I was always a Pongo girl when I was a kid. I loved Pongo and he was my favorite in the animated one. But I really liked him as a kid in the live action. But this time around I was giving Purdy her flowers. She did great.
I do recall in the original, the animated one, her characteristics, yes, very, very dainty, perdita, like just and how Pongo so even the dogs were very representative of the characters on which they're based.
Yes.
Very well. I also wanted to call out was it the Airedale Terrier that is like helping the puppies, and he's telling all the farm animals like what's going on, literally doing charades. I'm like, that dog. I mean,
I know.
Good job. Yeah.
It's so amazing.
Sweet.
I was like, these dogs, I hope that they had lots of treats on set. And you're absolutely right. There were pigs, sheep, that there was a horse that did a great amount of acting with having to kick and wince. And I mean, it was just, they did a great job, because I think the reason why the human actors are so understated, I feel like is so intentional, because the movie's
Yes.
ultimately not about them. It's about the
Yes.
animals. John Hughes and the actors, they all really understood the assignment. The only actor that really is designed to be over the top is Cruella, and everybody else is kind of just vehicles to make the story happen for the animals. And so they all did such a good job coming together and making it feel sweet and whimsical, and it all worked so well. I loved it.
On that point, yes, everything you said, 100%. I feel like now, there was some early CGI in this.
Yes.
But this is 96. I didn't mind it at all, because it wasn't overused. And for 96, it was pretty good. But I feel like now, instead of having, I know some of them are probably animatronics and stuff, but I prefer that over CGI animal any day, you know? So
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. I do have a couple questions.
Yeah.
What is Cruella's plan? I know this is a Disney movie, but she's planning to, where's she going to wear this coat and have no one notice that it's, hey, a bunch of Dalmatians went missing. And now there's a Dalmatian coat.
Not to mention that the one thing that, like, a plot hole that confused me was how long it took Anita to figure out that it was Cruella.
Yes.
It's like, why wasn't that the first thing on your mind?
Oh my God.
Yeah. So like, it's
she
like
works for
halfway through
her.
the movie. Yes. She's been over. She's already solicited you for the puppies. She's told you what she intends to do with them. And then she also stormed out really angry. And to know her is to know that she's not the person who's going to take no for an answer. She's your boss. So you know her. And I watched that and I was like, wait, I thought this, I must have like missed that she actually didn't realize that. Because to your point, Cruella the only way that would have worked, she would have had to just like move and just start. I mean, you can't wear that to a red carpet knowing full, but the exact same thing with the tiger. Like, if, that was like a huge news story in London at the time. So if you just come walking out with that tiger coat, like, everybody's going to know. So
I know.
That is definitely a weird plot hole that she doesn't actually fully address.
Great. I'm glad that you brought up the Anita taking forever to figure it out. I too was like, oh my God, Anita, get with the program. Yeah, we kind of already talked about like a lot of the Home Alone stuff. And a lot of times I don't know if complain is the right word, but it's just not as well done, in a lot of his other movies, not Home Alone, but kind of tries to repeat that same formula over and over and over again. Yeah. But somehow it works in this as well.
Yes.
Don't you think? There weren't too many and they were a little bit different. There was some that were the trademark. Do you have thoughts about that typical, the falls and mishaps and stuff?
I think when it's done, I think the formula really is like, you have to have, and honestly, I'm going to take a note from that kid that tests all the video games. Like, he really is spot on. Like, you need a villain. Whoever your villain is, like, that matters. And I think why Home Alone matters so much is because the Wet Bandits are, even though they're inherently bad and we know this, and no one's rooting for them to successfully hurt Kevin or raid the house, but there's a silliness to them that makes it fun to watch. And you ultimately can infer that everything's going to end up okay. So there's not a lot of fear. It's just kind of more fun. And I think that really applies itself to this movie. I think that it feels earned when the puppies start fighting back, because the kidnappings happened and they've all been rescued. And it's really just kind of like one puppy against the other ones. And the fall through the rotting wood, that's definitely a John Hughes trademark. The one that I remember sticking with me when I was a kid, and it was just as impactful watching it now, is when Horace gets flown into the pond, and he is like freezing. He's like cold, cold, and he like freezes.
He
And
literally
yeah,
freezes in
literally
place.
freezes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then the last one that I feel was kind of a fun, different element was you're watching these raccoons and there's squirrels, they're all messing with their van, and they're doing
Mhm.
it probably 10 to 15 minutes prior before any of this other stuff starts happening. So then they get into the car and you kind of almost forget that all that's been done. And so they're driving away and he's like, I'm so cold. I'm so cold. I just need the heat. I just need the heat. And turns it on and blazes fire. He's like, too hot, too hot. And I don't know, it works for me. I think like 1 to 2 things per guy. And so I
Mhm.
think because, and again, in like a Home Alone or something else, it was like that's kind of more the central focus of the movie. So I think because it was just so minimal, you were able to enjoy it without it getting stale.
Yeah, those are great points. They did a good job of setting up something and then you kind of forget about it and it's going to happen later. There
Yeah.
were several of those. The skunk one too.
Yes.
You're like, this is here for a reason. When's it going to
Yes.
happen? When's it going to happen? Always a little bit of a surprise. I did also read to your point about that kid is right. The villain needs to, you need a proper villain. And I guess it was Glenn Close's idea to kind of change her a little bit. I guess the original written version of her was too soft in Glenn's opinion.
Ooh, okay.
So she was hoping and proposed that she play it bitchier and funnier.
She did great.
And
Yeah.
it totally works. So
Yeah, she did fantastic.
and then she thought that she's right. This is true. This is what you were saying. This is what the kid is saying. It's a whole comeuppance, but she said it's more deserving, and we really enjoy her getting that at the end because she was so extreme
Yes, I love that.
throughout the movie.
And the kid says it perfectly because when Roger is like, what if we could find a different villain, like somebody you could really hate? And he makes this really poignant comment of like, it's not hatred that's important, it's the desire to annihilate. And that is why all of these different movies where you have really colorful villains, it works because you don't hate them. You don't hate the wet bandits. You don't hate Horace and Jasper. And you don't really, you strongly dislike Cruella, but you're also strangely attracted to seeing her on your screen. And you're excited when she fails and when she gets arrested, but it doesn't change the fact that you recognize also that she's just iconic and it's just amazing to watch. So hatred is not a part of the recipe. It's just being so excited when the payoff finally comes and they all get arrested and skunked in the backseat of the car, and it works.
It definitely does. So there's a few other things that I read about how she approached the role. Have you ever seen the show or heard of it, a 90s British show called Absolutely Fabulous?
No.
Oh my God. It's hard to explain. It is so funny. It's very specific. It's these two rich middle-aged women and just like they're just ridiculous. Like they're just so over the top. Anyway, one of the characters' names is Patsy. I think the actress is Joanna Lumley, and she's playing Patsy. And Glenn Close based her vocal enunciations on the way that Patsy talks, and it is very specific. So I thought that was awesome. The costumes, I guess, were yes, and it took weeks to design and all of these fittings with her. And she was in the corsets. And I did notice in one scene, I'm like, oh my God, her waist is tiny. Her waist is 21 inches at the time.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, that's so tiny. Yes, specifically, she's like sitting and she stands up. And I remember when she stood, I was like, oh my gosh, she has a legitimate Coke bottle body. She is just so snatched. Oh my gosh, the outfits were amazing. That whole red outfit with the red leather boots, I loved that so much.
The outfits were amazing. And
Outfits were so good.
Her design, the House of DeVille, her fashion empire, it was so chic. I mean, aside from the fact that it's animals fur and stuff, like I hate all of that, but I don't know, there was something about it that was just epic. But she couldn't sit down, she couldn't breathe. Sometimes she'd get faint because of the corset being so tight. And she stayed in character a lot, and therefore a lot of the animals were actually afraid of her.
Oh, my gosh.
I know.
So sad.
And I didn't realize this about her, but I guess she's a stickler for method acting and things being authentic. And now that I'm saying that, I'm like, of course, yeah, think through things, Katie. Yeah, of course. She insisted on doing the vat of molasses stunt herself.
Wow. That scene's actually terrifying when she comes back up for air. That is the scene that reminds me the most of Fatal Attraction because she gives that same blood curdling scream when she comes up. And I mean, I would too, to be fair, if I was just completely submerged in molasses. But yeah, I mean, that scene is actually legitimately scary when she comes back out of the water and then, out of the molasses. And then poor thing, she just has no choice but to exhaustedly roll out and just she's like basically tarred and feathered.
Yeah, because she gets kicked into the mud or something like even after that. I don't know if it's manure or mud or both, but that's where she gets found. And she's like, what's wrong? What's wrong?
Something wrong.
This happens a lot in movies. Like, obviously, everyone loved this, and the puppies are so cute. And so there's always whenever there's a specific breed of dog or animal in a popular show or a movie, of course, there's a giant uptick of people purchasing those dogs, and then less than breeders that are doing it for the wrong reasons and stuff. And I'm such a huge advocate for adopting from shelters and rescue groups and stuff like that. So this always irks me, but per usual, because people be people, and Dalmatian sales shut up after the premiere. Impulsive purchases, and Dalmatians are a very specific breed, probably not suited for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so people were ill prepared. And so there was like a huge surge in Dalmatians showing up at shelters and having to be euthanized.
Oh, that's so sad. My next door neighbor growing up had a Dalmatian, and I don't want to speak ill of any, because I'm a big dog person. I love dogs. And I think that particular Dalmatian had a huge bond to its owner, but nonetheless, he did not really like a whole lot of other people. So it was a thing that we all just knew to stay away. Because of course, especially when you love dogs, you don't want to provoke a dog for the dog and for your own safety. But that dog was always so pretty to look at. It was like eye candy. We always
they're beautiful.
loved looking at him, but everybody knew you don't run up and pet him. He doesn't like it, but he loved his owner. And so that was kind of always a treat. And slightly a bummer because when he had a Dalmatian, I was like, oh, naturally, like you're like a Pongo, and then we loved it. But that is really, really sad. You were right. Dalmatians are, from what I understand, are just kind of almost like a husky in the sense where they're like kind of ornery and they're sensitive, so they're just not really for everybody. But I think in the right circumstance, in the right environment, there's, like I said, him and his owner have
same. It's just like this happen. Whatever the movie is, a certain breed gets popular, and it's impulsive purchases again. Every family is different, and every pet should be suited to you. So do a little bit of research. Also, as Bob Barker says,
totally
help control the pet population by having your pet spayed or neutered.
That's right.
It kind of drove me nuts that at the end, I know it's a movie, but they're like,
oh yeah.
And their kids. I'm like, can you spay and neuter these dang dogs already?
Seriously, you're like living in a castle. That's really funny. We just actually we had to say goodbye in November. Oh, I remember podcasting with you, so I told you this, but we had to say goodbye to our 14-year-old dog, and that was so rough on our whole family. We loved her so deeply, but we did copious amounts of research first because we were really aware of what we wanted. We wanted a dog that would be great. She was a border collie. She was fantastic. She was my little like running buddy. And then so good with the kids. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Very high energy, but in the best. But at the time when we were young, it was perfect for us. And then she was like our kids' best bud. And
her. Yeah, that's really
love
sweet.
Her so much.
I
love that. I know we'll get it. The kids are all like, Mom, can we please get a dog? Can we please get a dog? And we're in an interim phase of life where we're building a house and we're living with my parents in the interim. And I'm like, not now. Now is not the time.
Not the great time. Yeah.
Like we can't do this to Nani and Papa and bring a puppy in the house. I was like, but I promise a puppy is big on the agenda. So this got all of the kids watching this movie, got everybody we caught the puppy bug. And
well, how could you not? Those puppies, it was cuteness overload. I mean, You just can't stand it. I did also read a few varying accounts of how many Dalmatians were used for the shooting of this. So there's 2 adult dogs, right? But they had 20 actually playing Pongo and Perdita.
Oh, wow. Okay.
20 adult dogs.
Never would have known. I don't
know how that works, but somewhere between 230 and 300 puppies, because they had to be a certain age, like between 5 and 6 weeks. And then, if they get too big, so they had to, keep,
Can you imagine being like an assistant or something on set and they're like, hey, listen, we need your help. I need you to just entertain these. We're going to just give each of you 20 puppies and you just have to basically keep them entertained.
Babysit.
For an hour. That would be like, sign me up 100%. I want that job. We used to.
Oh my God.
When I was in college, this was before we could have a dog. We were living in an apartment. They were like really strict about pets. But whenever we were bored, my roommate and I would go to the Humane Society and just play with the puppies all day long because, oh my gosh, they just let you sit in a room and play with puppies. And who doesn't? Play with puppies.
Yeah, I'll do that all day.
Yeah, it's like total dopamine spike. It was the best.
I got to figure out a way to get paid to do that.
Right. I know. We really do. And we eventually got to a point where they were like, this particular Humane Society was really busy and they were really, and which is a good thing, but they started to get irritated with us because they knew that we had no intention of adopting. Eventually, when we moved into a place that would allow me to have a cat, I did adopt a cat, but yes, I loved her. We had her for 13 years, but we were like, but why is the problem that we're here? We're going to entertain them. We're outside. So we'll make sure everybody goes to the bathroom before we walk them back in. It's, keep a free volunteer basically.
Yeah. I mean, they probably need more volunteers to walk the adult dogs that are like just stuck in their kennels all day.
That's
but
so hard.
yeah,
I know. We would play with some
puppies,
of those too, to be fair.
Yes.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, the puppies are just way too cute in this. I'm a huge animal person. I loved all the animals in this. What I didn't know, it's also kind of sad, but I did not know that. So there's skunks and raccoons in the movie, obviously, and this is set in London. Well, apparently those are not inhabitants of the UK.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
Like they're not natural. They do not naturally exist there.
I guess they're like more like woodland creatures. And I guess I'm trying to think of what's the natural terrain in London. Is it just more like flatlands? There's not like a lot of woodsy areas. I'm trying to think of like
no idea.
I don't know. I guess I've never really given that any thought, but that is really interesting.
Those two very specifically, skunks and raccoons. I mean, I could be right. I listen. I could be getting my information. I'm just saying I've
never thought of it. I guess this is one of those things I've never really even sat down and thought about.
No, me neither. That's what. However, the sad part is, that being said, there are actually feral populations now. There are raccoons and skunks in England because they were brought there to be bred for the fur trade as well as exotic pets. And then, people be people. And so if some escaped, or maybe people just were like, oh, I don't want this pet anymore, I'll let it go. So then they're out there in the wild. So it's like feral, they're just in the wild breeding.
I know someone that I used to work with that had a pet raccoon. And,
they are cute.
Yes. I mean, they're very, very cute. And I think you can also get like the skunker removed, like the whatever it is that emits the smell. You can get that removed from a skunk. And I don't know if that's invasive or not to do that, but you can do it. And apparently they're like cats otherwise.
Yeah, I imagine they are. I was just sort of like, how about we just leave them in the wild and let them be?
Oh no, I'm in agreement. You and I are in agreement in that. I watched this show, ironically, also titled Fatal Attraction. It was all about like when people try to like inhabit wild animals as pets and how like it always goes horribly wrong. So like, no, I'm not for wild animals as pets. I think it's definitely more impulsive and it's not sustainable. And then ultimately the animal ends up suffering. And
of course. Yeah. But I do understand the impulse because I'm like, oh, you're so cute.
They're very cute. Yeah, they're very, very cute.
Lizzy, the end. See, it's been a while since I've seen this, probably not since 96, maybe. And I couldn't recall exactly how they justified in the movie them keeping all of the dogs.
Yeah.
So if you're in this position, they bring back the 15 puppies and Pongo and
Mhm.
Perdita. Okay, their family's back together again. But now there's another, I don't know, 86 puppies. And they're
Yeah.
like, hey, you want them? If not, they're going to the pound. And so they're like,
I know.
what are you doing?
You know, I thought about this actually when I watched it, of being like, how would I reconcile doing that? But, you know, I think to bring my faith in it, I suppose, I'm a believer that I think that God puts things in our path that are like, so, you know, there's our plans and then there's God's plans. And I think that sometimes God reveals your calling, whether you're ready for it or not. And there's a part of me that thinks if I was in that situation, I would say to myself, like, obviously this isn't completely ideal, but it's like the alternatives just, I would never allow that. So I think maybe we just figure it out. And even though my house is going to be completely covered in, you know, fecal matter constantly, there's always going to be some kind of chaos that's happening. Ultimately, I think the joy that would come with just having such a full house would, I guess, supersede the desire to have my house clean. And
Your house is never
Yeah.
gonna be. There's no, yeah, a hundred dogs, and they grow up to be pretty good sized dogs too.
Yeah, and I mean, she gets a castle out of it. So I mean,
Yes.
of course, I guess in that aspect, like the obedience of that, and they kind of just speak to the characters as well. They're not living in humble means in the sense that they live in a beautiful flat in downtown London. So obviously that they have some kind of financial, and they have a nanny. So like they obviously, of course, have some kind of financial cushion, but I think, and then later they get a castle. So obviously they have money, but I think that the way that they live their life seems very humble. Like you can
Of
just
course.
tell that like Anita and Roger aren't really chasing. Probably the best way to put it is in the beginning when Cruella is like, why haven't I heard from you? Why haven't I heard your work? She basically says that like notoriety is not of importance to her. She's never really wanted the accolades that come with being this big designer. She just kind of wants to keep her head down, do her job. And if she ever left, it wouldn't be for work. It would be to start a family. So I think that with that context in mind, it makes sense why she keeps them, because ultimately I think she has that anchor of knowing that just family and relationships and love and dogs are just kind of her passion. So I don't know how I would actually feel about it in the moment, but watching it, I'm like, I think as an adult, I kind of get it and it works.
Yeah, I mean, it's a movie, but same, I thought about it. I was like, I mean, reasonably, I can't have, there's literally not space in my house for 100
right.
dogs, but I would take them. I thought about it enough to be like, okay, well, I will take them. And then my, marching orders are I'm going to get a bunch of rescues involved. We're going to set up foster homes, and we're going to find actually, good adoptive homes for them, but not before they are spayed and neutered, before they can go home.
Right. Yes.
My God, we don't need any more. So yeah, I would take them and then try and help them find families. Yes.
I think that's the right thing. Going to the pound would be sad. And I think she ultimately doesn't want that. And she knows that Pongo and Purdy don't want it either. She's, she married Roger because their dogs were in love. So she's definitely devoted dog mom.
Speaking of, I mean, again, it's a movie, but this might be the record for the fastest engagement. Yes. Do you think?
Yeah, 100%. Yes, I remember not thinking very much of it the first time that I watched it, but now she's literally just, I'll marry you. If you're asking, then I'm saying yes. And
like an hour after they meet.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty amazing. And she, they meet and she's like, oh, like jolly nice human, don't you think? And you can just tell in that there's a school of thought, and I don't necessarily agree completely with this school of thought, but there's, at least some probably sprinkles of truth to it, that it's like you tend to marry the person just because you're at a time and a place in your life where you're just ready for it. And so the person that's in front of you then becomes the person you want to do that with.
Yeah.
And I think, at least in the context of this movie, I think that tends to be true, because she kind of already declared that that's like what she wants. And so after meeting a nice guy and he kind of semi proposes, she's just like, well, okay, let's do it.
I mean, Lizzy, what are they going to do? Their dogs fell in love. They have to get married.
I know. It's so funny. But it works, honestly, because again, just to feel the storyline, like it's ultimately not really about like their love. It's the dog's love, and it makes you forgive so much of the silliness of the humans just because you recognize that they're not the stars of this movie.
And from a movie making perspective, I guess they needed to get us to the dogs being stolen real quick.
Yep.
So
You need to get there quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, to be honest, I was kind of expecting to not love this movie just because I've kind of been on that, because it's a kid movie. I didn't really remember it. And I was like, dang, Cruella DeVille, Glenn Close, just the supporting cast, all of it, it all really worked. There was a couple things here and there that it's not like a perfect movie. But in our look back at 101 Dalmatians, Glenn Close stole the show, close second with the puppies. And it is definitely due for a rewatch, all of you. I would highly recommend. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Glenn Close and adorable puppies. So if you enjoyed this episode, take a quick second. Follow if you have not. Leave a rating or review would even be better. Share it with a fellow retro fan. You can also reach out with your thoughts, since this is the second to last episode of the John Hughes season. And I could not thank Lizzy more for joining me to look back at 96 fashion and this really cute movie. Do you have any final thoughts?
Yes. No, I'm in complete agreement. This movie holds up, and my kids really loved it. So I think it's fun on its own, but it's also a great family movie.
Good point. Yeah. And Lizzy, I genuinely love podcasting with you. Always appreciate the conversation and your perspective on things. Is there anything in particular that we should look forward to on either Retro Movie Roundtable or any of your other projects?
Yes. So I definitely keep up with Retro Movie Roundtable. I'm a regular guest on the show. So definitely keep up. Former co-host, had to scale back a little bit with life, but I am on there regularly. But the rest of the gang is really fantastic. And those episodes come out weekly. So definitely check that out.
Yes, I'm a big supporter. I listen to every episode, love the show. So I concur with Lizzy. Go check it out. And with that, thank you for listening. Until next time, be kind, rewind.